This wheel is 6 feet tall.
Heated it up and twisted it. And a couple bends. What do you think it's used for?
Literally sliding down into the canyon.
We're at the Hoodoos Trail, surrounded by gnats.
We're staying at Loma Paloma RV Park in Presidio, Texas. A mile down the road is Fort Leaton, so we decided to come and take a look. Fort Leaton was a stop on the Chihuahua Trail between 1848 and 1884. Fort Leaton is one of the finest and largest adobe structures in Texas. I'm reading that straight from the brochure. A lot of it has been restored, so in walking around, different placards tell you what the different rooms may have been used for based on archaeological findings. From what I can understand, most of it has original foundations and it was just restored so that it could show people like us what it looked like back in the mid 1800s. Even outside they have placards telling us what the different plants are. And what's really cool is we've been in the southern desert for quite some time that we already recognize some of them before we get to them. So that's kind of cool that we're actually retaining what we're learning. All right, DeWitt, we just bragged that because we've been in the desert for so long, we recognize some of these plants without having to look at placards. So what plant is behind you?
It's one of the mesquite varieties. Now there's another mesquite a little bit further up that's like honey mesquite. What's cool about it is the description is that it's like the desert Skittles. So when they have the berries out, you could eat them and they're like little desert Skittles. Here's the other kind of mesquite. It's a honey mesquite. So it doesn't have the big prickly, but you can see what it looks like it used to have, or will have the flower buds coming up. A couple more weeks or months, we're here, the desert might start blooming. So we're excited that we might be able to see some of it. Here's an example of the archaeological aspect of them exploring and trying to learn everything. This is one of 3 servants' quarters. There's a fireplace. It's part of a double fireplace. When they were starting to renovate it, they found that a lot of the area had been destroyed by treasure hunters trying to look for treasures hidden up in the chimneys.
The door sills and the pink tile floors are original.
The other servants' quarters. This is a very long room from my perspective. All the ceilings are really high. I'm assuming it's helped to let the heat rise on the back side of the other chimney.
The Leaton family hosted balls and community gatherings in this room. According to legend, the design of having the high thresholds at the bottom here were to help prevent flooding and also to help prevent Indian attacks, though Fort Leaton never had one. The floor inside this room is very smooth, so archaeologists guess that this was probably the nursery.
And it looked out on the courtyard. Let's go see what's next. That's the family parlor.
This was the living quarters for the Leaton family, which means they did all of their living here, including sleeping. Just basically all in one big room.
One of the things they talked about in the pamphlet is the differences in the types of the roof. It has a V pattern and a straight pattern, another V pattern. That was a separation between different rooms.
Screens and furniture were used to help divide the room to make it into smaller areas.
And here we have the trading office.
American military explorers who came through this area noted in the trading post that there was dried beef, cornmeal, stock animals, and peach brandy. This is where the trading took place, including Leaton's trading with the Apache and Comanche Indians for merchandise that actually had been stolen from Mexican families.
And off the family parlor is the dining room. Let's see what Debbie's learned.
We're in the dining room. It was large enough to hold big family gatherings and parties. We learned that the adobe walls in the fort are anywhere from 18 to 44 inches thick. That's one way to really hold the heat in the rooms when it's cold outside, and then to keep the cool air in when it's hot outside. The fireplace is enormous, where a whole beef, a few goats, and pigs might have all been cooked at the same time.
That sounds like quite the family reunion. This is the unrestored area where the walls and such weren't rebuilt up. One of the things that really interests me is how they use these, I forget what they're called, cane cactus. They take cuttings from them and plant them and use it for a living fence to help keep predators away from their chickens and animals. What is that giant wagon, Debbie?
This is a carreta. We were told in the paperwork that it was the first wheeled cart brought to America from Spain. These carts were what carried heavy loads on the Chihuahua Trail. This wheel is 6 feet tall. Some of them were as tall as 9 feet. They carried such heavy loads that 10 to 12 oxen were needed to pull it along the trail.
One of the rooms that interested me, partly because of its size, is the bakery. We're walking up to it now, and you see on the left-hand side, the back side of the oven. All right, Debbie, stand up there so we can see how big it is.
You're not baking me.
No Hansel and Gretel.
No.
So this is supposed to be the blacksmith room. While some of the equipment looks maybe a little newer than I expect they would have, the idea is still the same, that they would stoke up a fire and heat up the metal and pound it out. They pounded out a point, heated it up and twisted it to give a nice curl, and a couple bends. What do you think it's used for?
Lantern?
I'm thinking maybe a rotisserie over a fire. So it'd be two of these, one on each side of a fire to have a spit going across.
Sounds good.
I took a blacksmithing class several years ago. And so it's really cool to see what they have done here and realize the amount of effort it takes to make something that has nice, even twists. Looking through the different things they had here, I realized that a blacksmith can make an auger or a drill bit also. Maybe this wasn't actually made by a blacksmith, but if a blacksmith could pound out a piece of metal and give it a nice, even twirl, you have a pretty good auger there. Fort Leaton has a nature trail that walks around the outside of it, so we're going to go check it out.
This is the Candelilla plant. It has a waxy outer surface, which is used for a lot of different purposes. During both world wars, wax was used on the tents to help prevent water leakage.
Looks like somebody's been nibbling on this cactus. The wait a minute bush.
Ooh, vanilla scented flowers.
Around February the 15th, 16th, so not much is green. Okay, it is a desert, so. All right, Debbie, geography quiz.
Uh-oh.
Where's that mountain?
That's Mexico.
Behind us is Fort Leaton. We're walking on the nature trail. There's a bat house, Debbie. Let's check and see what they mean.
Yeah, I want to check it out. Wonder what lives there.
Well, Debbie and I are taking one of our first adventures down here near Presidio, Texas. This is the Closed Canyon Trail. I think it's 1.4 miles there and back. We're walking and we'll be in that canyon off to the right. We were given a caution if we start our hike earlier in the morning to dress warmly because the mountains would have put us in the shade up until about noon. So like other canyons, I read that this canyon was formed from water cutting through the rocks.
It's exciting. It's our first slot canyon.
We're getting ready to enter Closed Canyon. It's also called a slot canyon, but I've seen pictures of slot canyons, and this one's nice and wide. Check up there. think there's a bear in that cave.
Maybe.
It's cooled down. It's nice and cool right through here. All right, gotta get down without breaking anything. We've learned not to walk on the pea gravel on sloped areas. It'll cause you to slip and slide.
We're not finished with the trail yet, but we have gone down into the canyon and literally sliding down into the canyon. So I'm not really sure which was more difficult, climbing back up out of the canyon or dealing with all these bugs. I don't know about you, hon, but that trek wore me out. It just shows how out of shape I am. But you know what? I am so glad we did it.
I enjoyed it too. It was a good workout.
Mm-hmm.
We were our hands and feet trying to go through some of the slots.
And it was so wonderful being so close to the tall mountains.
This is the Rio Grande River, and that is Mexico. United States, Mexico.
We're at the Hoodoos Trail, surrounded by gnats and nature's beauty. There's Mexico down below. Don't know if you can hear it or not, is the Rio Grande. And then off to the side are a few hoodoos.
Let's see if you can see all the bugs flying around. All right, we're a little bit out of breath. It's not from the hike though.
No.
It's from trying to get rid of all the gnats. And I realize now why horses make the sound they do, because they're constantly trying to blow away the bugs, like yeah. I'm not sure if this will make it to the video, but
It will.